A human life can stretch far enough to witness whole worlds rearrange themselves. Fashions, values, ambitions, even the very language people use to call something success. It can last long enough for friends to become strangers, and for strangers, through a single sentence, a single kindness, a single loss, to become teachers. And if we are lucky, it lasts long enough for us to notice a quiet truth. What felt urgent in one decade can become almost weightless in the next. We move through seasons of rising and falling, winning and losing, gathering and letting go. Early on, we rarely stop to ask what any of it is truly for. We are busy building, proving, reaching. We assume meaning will arrive later, like a reward for endurance, but later arrives, and the reward is not what we imagined. At some point, often quietly, often in solitude, the question rises like a slow tide. What is it all for? Is living meant to be a long strategy of accumulation, collecting advantages, securing the larger share, winning the endless comparisons that the world holds up like mirrors? Or is it meant to be something rarer, finding a still, spacious place inside the heart that does not depend on being ahead? It sounds like a simple question, but the longer we live, the more we collide with real life, the more we realize how difficult it is to answer honestly. There are nights when we sit under a lamp and look back on years of striving, and something in us grows tired of the chase. A quieter wonder replaces the old urgency. Am I truly living, or am I merely running? Look closely at the world, and you will see how easily the mind becomes trapped inside a single word: profit. Profit in money, profit in reputation, profit in arguments, profit in control, profit even in kindness, when kindness is offered for applause, influence, or a good name. The mind can turn everything into transaction, as if living were the careful construction of a favorable balance in some invisible ledger. In marketplaces, people quarrel over small sums. In families, they quarrel over land, a house, an inheritance. At work, they quarrel over titles, compliments, rumors. Friends drift apart over misunderstandings pride refuses to soften. Couples collect grievances the way misers collect gold, counting and recounting, as if the counting itself could make the heart feel safe. And we see it everywhere. Winning is exhausting and losing is painful. We gain and then we lose. We hold and then we must release. The scoreboard never ends. If you win today, you must defend the win tomorrow. If you climb higher, you fear the fall more. If you collect more, you guard more. If you are praised, you dread being forgotten. So the question becomes unavoidable. When everything is finally set down, what can follow us to the last mile of life? There is an old teaching attributed to Bodhidharma. People do not suffer because they have too little, but because the mind does not know when it is already enough. Desire is like a vessel with a hidden crack. No matter how much you pour into it, it never fills. Get 1 and you want 10. Get 10 and you want 100. And so the mind throws itself into a whirlpool with no bottom, At first, this sounds like a moral lesson, something to nod at and set aside. But if you live long enough, you recognize it as a description of ordinary life. The tragedy is not that we want. Wanting is natural. The tragedy is that we believe wanting will end once we satisfy it. Hunger ends for a while. Desire simply changes shape and returns. And then a strange reversal takes place. The more we have, the more we worry. The tighter we grip, the more we fear loss. From the outside, we may look successful, yet inside, we feel perpetually poor. Poor in rest, poor in calm, poor in peace. Life is like a river. Some stretches gentle, some fierce. You can kneel and scoop water with your hands all day, but what can you truly keep? Only a few drops. The rest slips through your fingers and returns to the current. So it is with worldly profit. So much appears to be ours, yet how little can be held. A house, a car, a bank account, a reputation. These carry our names only briefly. They are like writing on water. It looks real for a moment, then dissolves. Either we leave them, or they leave us. Even the body is borrowed. Strength becomes weakness. Clear eyes become clouded. A voice that once filled a room grows quiet. What we call mine is, in truth, only passing through our hands. The deeper question, then, is not how much we can gather, but what we are gathering for. Everything has a cost. Not only the cost paid in money, but the cost paid in attention, in time, in relationship, in spirit. Every pursuit spends something. It spends hours. It spends patience. It spends pieces of the self that do not return. And often we chase the wrong things, not because we are foolish, but because we are afraid. We chase money because we fear insecurity. We chase status because we fear invisibility. We chase praise because we fear insignificance. We chase control because we fear uncertainty. But the harsh lesson of living is that none of these finally protect us. Money cannot purchase back lost time. Status cannot guarantee love. Praise cannot prevent loneliness. Control cannot stop change. The world remains impermanent, and the mind remains vulnerable. This is why so many people who have enough still cannot rest. They are not suffering from poverty of possessions. They are suffering from poverty of peace. Their laughter is tight. Their joy is brief. Even leisure feels like labor. They carry wealth like armor, heavy, exhausting, never removed. So what is the alternative? A simple saying holds more wisdom than it first appears. To know contentment is wealth. To chase craving is poverty. But contentment is often misunderstood. Some mistake it for shrinking one's life, refusing ambition, abandoning responsibility. Yet real contentment is not laziness and not resignation. It is clarity. It is the freedom of no longer being dragged by the mind's endless hunger. Knowing enough does not mean having nothing. It means no longer being chained by what you have or by what you lack. It means you can work hard without being consumed. It means you can earn without worshipping. It means you can plan for tomorrow without poisoning today. It means you can improve yourself without despising yourself. Such a person can eat a plain meal and experience it as a feast, not because the meal is lavish, but because the mind is not complaining while the body is being fed. Such a person can sit in a small room and still sense a wide sky. Yimzao. Not because the room expands, but because the heart is no longer cramped by comparison. Meanwhile, the hungry mind can possess much and still feel shortage. One more sum of money, one more compliment, one more victory. It is like drinking seawater. The more you swallow, the thirstier you become. Outside, you may look full. Inside, there is only an empty pit. This is why profit becomes a dangerous word. Not because profit is evil, but because the mind can turn it into a chain. Profit in business, profit in love, profit even at home. When life becomes calculation, we begin to calculate affection, loyalty, even decency, as if every moment must tilt in our favor. We call it wisdom, but often it is only fear wearing a clever mask. One of life's sharpest tragedies is this. Siblings who once shared hardship as children later turn their backs on each other over a modest inheritance. Paper becomes a stone, thrown into blood ties, shattering what once held a family together. Two brothers grow up inseparable. Years pass. Their parents die, leaving behind a small house and a patch of garden. One wants to keep the home for remembrance. The other insists on selling and dividing the money to start anew. A sentence lands wrong. An old wound is scraped. Pride stiffens. Soon the argument is no longer about the house. It is about not being cheated. They go to court. They drag each other through offices and hearings. Neighbors watch, shocked, as two people who once loved each other like limbs of the same body begin to look at one another with eyes cold enough to sting. And when it ends, the winner feels no joy. The loser carries bitterness. The memory of childhood becomes a room no one can enter. Later, when illness arrives, as it always does, the surviving love stands outside the hospital door with trembling hands, unable to find the first words. If only circles the chest like a bird that cannot land. This is life's cruel irony. We spend years calculating what we can keep, and at the end, we remember people, not possessions. A house can be sold and rebuilt. Trust, once shattered, is harder to restore. If you fight for a few meters of land and lose a brother, it may be the greatest loss of your life. As we age, we begin to see that many things we treated as life and death important were as fragile as dew on grass. In the morning it glitters, by noon it vanishes. And for those dewdrops, people fight, hate, and break lifelong bonds. A man watches a bead of dew on a leaf behind his house. It is so clear it seems to hold a tiny sky. Then sunlight touches it, and it disappears without a sound. Something loosens in him as he watches. A question lands gently but firmly. Could my whole life of clinging vanish just as quietly? After that, he slows down. He stops racing. He stops comparing. He stops forcing himself to win. And strangely, when he loosens his grip, he feels richer rich in sleep, rich in mornings without dread, rich in simple meals, rich in a home without quarrels. Because what is rich, really? Rich is not only having much. Rich is being able to enjoy what you already have. A still drop of water reflects the sky. A still heart reflects what matters. Only when we step out of the whirlpool of winning and losing does the mind become quiet enough to recognize what is truly precious. Insight is not always delivered by grand sermons. Often it arrives through ordinary people, those who have suffered enough to stop pretending life is endless. A vegetable seller sits behind a small bamboo tray, the market around him buzzing with bargaining and noise. Yet his stall feels calm. He does not compete, does not hustle, does not argue. He picks away wilted leaves and hums softly. When asked why he doesn't sell more, he smiles. I eat 3 meals and I'm full. These bundles are enough. Why exhaust the body until the heart cannot rest? A seamster works in a tiny shop. 1 machine, 1 bulb, 1 chair. Before he sews, he pours tea and sits in silence for 3 minutes, even if customers are impatient. If the mind is tangled, he says, the hands become tangled, and tangled hands may tangle someone else's life. He learned this after ruining a bride's dress with a stitch made in haste. The job isn't what exhausts us. The frantic heart does. People suffer not because they are fast or slow, but because they live by someone else's rhythm. A carpenter, once hot-tempered and hungry for money, now rises at dawn and drinks tea on his porch, watching steam lift like a quiet prayer. I thought earning more meant being skilled, he says. Now I think keeping a smile each day is the real skill. He runs his hand along a plank and adds, if you force wood to bend, it breaks. If you understand its grain, it becomes beautiful. People are the same. Live in a way that fits you. Don't force yourself past the point where the heart fractures. A motorbike taxi driver urged to hurry asks simply, do you want to arrive on time or arrive intact? Each day he ends with 1 slow exhale. He calls it shaking the dust from the heart. If I hold anger, he says, I burn my own heart for a day. The other person doesn't feel it. A water carrier balancing 2 buckets on a yoke pauses on steep paths to set it down and let the water settle. Downhill is where you slip, he says. When things go well, walk slower. Then he adds a lesson that sounds almost too simple to be deep. If you want the water not to spill, you must know when to stand still. If you want the heart not to spill into chaos, you must know when to pause. Setting it down isn't giving up. It's how you keep going. These are not lofty teachings. They are ordinary lives. Yet each carries a lantern. The peaceful person is not the one with the lightest life, but the one who has somewhere inside to set down what is heavy. So if we ask, how do we find peace of mind? The answer is not mysterious, but it is not easy, because it demands a different kind of strength than the world applauds. The world praises the strong hand that takes. Peace requires the strong heart that can release. The world praises the fast runner. Peace asks you to walk at your own pace. The world praises the loud voice. Peace invites you to listen. Peace is not an object to acquire. It is not a trophy. It is a relationship with life. A way of standing in the world without being constantly pushed and pulled by every wind. Most of what exhausts us is not life itself, but the story we tell about life. I must be more. I must have more. I must be admired. I must not lose. I must not fall behind. The story changes costume, but it does not end. When you are young, you chase grades, looks, romance, recognition. In middle age, you chase stability, status, achievement, property. In later years, some chase control, respect, the illusion of being needed. But the chase is still the chase, and the heart remains tight. To find peace, you do not need to abandon your responsibilities or flee the world. You need something rarer, the ability to live inside the world without letting the world live inside you. Continue working. Continue caring for your family. Continue building your life. But learn where to stop. Learn what is yours to hold and what must be yielded. Learn what is worth keeping and what is only weight. Because some things, carried too long, become poison. Letting go is not weakness. It is a discipline. Letting go of the need to be right. Letting go of the hunger to win every comparison. Letting go of grudges that warm you for a moment and freeze you for years. Letting go of the fantasy that life can be controlled. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop strangling life with care. There is a difference between holding something gently and gripping it with fear. A gentle hand can open. A fearful hand becomes a fist. Many people live their whole lives with a fist inside the chest, not even knowing it is clenched. But life cannot be held like that. Life is breath. Life is river. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. So what can follow you to the last mile? Not your house, not your car, not your reputation, not your bank balance. What follows you is subtler and more enduring, the shape of your heart. Did you leave warmth behind or bitterness? Did you protect love or trade it for victory? Did you create peace or scatter unrest? Did you learn gratitude or live in complaint? People forget achievements more quickly than we like to believe, but they remember how we made them feel. A person can be poor and still leave a rich fragrance behind. A person can be wealthy and leave only coldness. Money can draw people close. Goodwill makes them stay. In the end, perhaps the most practical philosophy is also the simplest. Don't root your happiness in what constantly changes. Money vanishes. Assets change owners. Praise turns to blame. Health grows fragile. Time passes like clouds crossing a mountain. If you tie your inner life to outer conditions, you will be dragged like a boat tied to a wild horse. Instead, place your happiness where impermanence cannot so easily reach it. In the way you live, in the way you treat others, in the way you return, again and again, to your own breath. This does not mean you should not earn money. It means money should be a tool, not a throne. It does not mean you should not pursue excellence. It means excellence should refine character, not inflate ego. It does not mean you should not plan for tomorrow. It means tomorrow should not steal your ability to live today. Because the greatest victory in life is not taking the bigger share. It is keeping the heart steady. It is knowing when to stop. It is loosening the grip just enough so that you can finally breathe. And if, after reading these words, you take one slow, deep breath and feel the mind soften even slightly, then you have already begun. When breath becomes calm, the heart becomes calm. And when the heart becomes calm, life, without changing at all, begins to feel gentler. In the end, life does not ask us to become empty-handed. It asks us to become clear-hearted. You can build, earn, and strive, and still live wisely. If you remember that everything you gain has a weight, and everything you cling to has a cost. The question is not whether you will hold things. The question is how you will hold them. With gratitude or with fear. With gentleness or with a fist. Because the final accounting of a life is rarely measured in what was owned. It is measured in what was made possible. The peace you brought into rooms, the trust you protected, the forgiveness you practiced before time forced regret to the surface. It is measured in whether your presence made others feel safer, lighter, more human. One day, whether we are ready or not, we will set everything down. Titles will slip away. Possessions will find new hands. Even the body will return to its true nature, temporary. And then what remains is not what we collected, but what we became. So live, yes, fully. Work, yes. Earnestly. Love, yes, without keeping score. Let your ambition be disciplined by contentment. Let your effort be guided by wisdom. Let your success be gentle enough that it does not harden you. And when the mind begins to race again, as it always will, return to something simple and faithful. A single breath, a single moment, a single act of kindness done without calculation. That may be the quietest secret of all. Peace is not waiting at the finish line. It is available now, whenever we stop making life a contest and allow it to be a practice. And if you can end each day with a softer heart than you began it, then you have already found the truest prophet, a kind that does not leak, does not spoil, and does not need defending.